the organizers and school administrators of this tournament.
Ryan, as someone that works in a school as an administrator, I'm not sure that sounds like fun. Welcome to the Tabletop Travel Guide, the podcast where we explore fictional worlds and civilizations right from the comfort of our own table. I'm Sam, and this week I got to use all of my sweet spells for battling the undead, and it was excellent. I also got to take a ride on one of my party members who was in dragon form.
Yeah, that encounter went pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm Ryan. Last week, I got to use all 60 of my undead miniatures in a single encounter. Someone told me that I didn't need 60 undead miniatures, but they were wrong. I used all of them.
Every one of them. Yeah, that was a good encounter. And I'm Tyler, and this week, in a different campaign that I'm running, my players knocked out a wolf using a drugged jello shot. Get out of combat. It worked out pretty well.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. That was me. I had the drugs.
Yes. After that party is, they named themselves the jello shot junkies, and they're using that as a form of diplomacy. And after, like, the first session where they used it, Sam's like, can I make them drug jello shots? And we're like, sure. And then it came into play, like, 12 sessions later.
Is jello spec'd out in Pathfinder?
No,
Did I miss that?
No, we
page?
just made it work.
Okay.
It might be in Treasure Vault. I don't know.
We have homebrewed jello shots
Perfect.
in more ways than one.
Yeah. So in today's segment of things we mispronounced last episode, I don't think we have anything. I know Sam made up most of the...
Mostly because we don't have pronunciation guides, so I got lucky.
Yeah.
Hey, take the win. Take the win.
Yeah, but this is our 10th episode, guys. I'm not counting Tabletop Spoiler Guide, because that was only like half an episode.
That's fine, yeah.
But our 10th official episode.
Double digits.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, today we are moving away from Shining Kingdoms, the area that was basically affected mostly by Taldor, and we are moving into our new meta area, Old Cheliax. It's currently called Old Cheliax, but we're going to go,
Tyler, why is it called Old Cheliax?
It's Old Cheliax, mostly because it was all Cheliax at one point.
I want it to be Old Cheliax, like it's reliable. Or like, what is the geyser?
Old Faithful.
Old Faithful, yes.
Old Faithful. Old Faithful Cheliax. Yeah, so this new meta area, Old Cheliax, consists of, I think, like 5 or 6 different countries. It's got Isker, it's got Nidal, it's got Ravenel, the Mindspin Mountains. But today, we're going to start with Cheliax itself.
The OG.
The OG. We touched on this a little bit in our Galt episode, but present-day Cheliax is kind of just stereotyped as the Devil Fascist Empire, mostly because it kind of is.
I was going to say,
Stereotype, true. But, it's kind of hard to imagine as anything else, but as we touched on a little bit in that episode, it wasn't always this way. And I think, instead of just kind of imagining Cheliax as a bunch of devil worshippers, I would kind of reframe the Chelish people as a group of people who value power above all else.
Okay.
Because even before the devils showed up, there was a lot...
It's not a good way to, quote-unquote that one.
Yeah, it all changed when the devils showed up. Before the devils showed up, there was still kind of a through line all throughout Chelish history of their, quest for power. This is going to be a 2-part episode, because there's a big amount of history of Cheliax, and I feel like it behooves us to dive into what Cheliax was and the history before we dive into what it currently is.
So this is our empathetic backstory to the villain
Not
portion?
necessarily. It just kind of explains... I feel like if we go with how it got here, it would kind of explain why they ended up, as devil worshippers of Asmodeus.
That's pretty far out to the left, so you gotta figure out, where did we turn?
Yeah.
That we ended up way out here.
This is how it started, and then we'll end up with how it's going. So, let's start with the founding. So we found in many of our episodes so far and all of our other countries, that the history of Cheliax starts with Taldor.
Woo!
We're not going to touch on this too much because I think we've touched on it several times, but Cheliax was founded in the year 3007 AR, in between the 7th and 8th Army of Exploration. Even when Taldor is not officially exploring, they're still exploring.
Always exploring.
Always exploring. Honestly, not too much happens. It's part of the Taldan Empire. For a while, it's just, another province. But it'll become very apparent over the next 1,000 years that Cheliax will have been ingrained with Taldan culture of exploring
Oh boy.
and wanting power.
So is there like a culture of Chelaxan people prior to Taldor showing up? Or were they fairly separate, and like Taldor is what brings the people together in this sense?
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think Cheliax was a thing before. It was kind of like there were people living in these areas, but they weren't a unified nation.
Okay. So we've got kind of separate people groups.
Yeah, and Taldor kind of comes in as I declare this chunk of land Cheliax.
Yeah, I mean, this is totally for a totally separate episode, but I'm doing way far ahead research. Technically, Sam, the Jitska Imperium is there.
Ooh, yeah.
Way before Cheliax and Taldor and all of that, but they don't make it.
Oh, okay.
So they're gone for a while before Cheliax comes back.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool, even before history of nations that have been around Golarion, which we'll get to, which is pretty cool. So, like I said, fast forward 1,000 years, in 4079 AR, Taldor is invaded by the Qadiran forces to their south, which leads to, anybody know?
The even-tongued conquest?
The even-tongued conquest.
Yay!
Our friend Aspects, the even-tongued.
My guess was going to be, and people died.
Well, that happens in every major historical event in Golarion.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm always right.
yeah, you're basically always right, yeah.
Yeah, so Aspects, the even-tongued. He has been made cameos in Andoran. I think he made a cameo in Galt. He was the Taldan governor over Cheliax. And he figured that, hey, Taldor wouldn't be able to fight a massive war on two fronts, so we're just gonna declare independence and hope they don't look too hard.
Love it.
Yeah, and this was, as you said, the even-tongued conquest. And as part of this, he's like, not only are we just gonna get Cheliax, but we're gonna force Galt and Isker to, join Cheliax, and then convince both Andoran and the Strix of Devil's Perch to join his new nation.
The Strix?
Yeah.
Is that a people group?
Yes. So,
People group.
It is.
I couldn't tell. I was like, is that a location?
Yeah.
Is it a person?
So the Strix are basically kind of winged humanoids, and they kind of have talons. So it's almost kind of like top of a human, wings, and kind of like bird legs.
So bird people?
Bird people.
Bird people.
Yeah. And they're only found in this one area of Cheliax on the south end of the Menador Mountains. Menador?
Mhm.
Menador? And so we won't dive too much into their stories, but basically there's these group of winged people who are very isolationist, and Aspects was like, hey, you should join our cause, and they're like, I guess so, fine. And then for the rest of history, it's mostly just kind of them being betrayed and all kinds of stuff.
Bird people?
Yeah, the bird people don't have a great time.
Womp
Strix.
womp.
Yeah, at the time, Aspects was very diplomatic. So, like Aspects assumed, Taldor could not both fight Qadira and get Cheliax back, so they just kind of let it happen. Over the next 600 years, Cheliax becomes a pretty dominant military power in Avestan.
Yeah, because they're starting to go up as Taldor is continuing to go down.
Yeah. And there's one fun fact that I thought was funny, and I think we might have talked about it in the Taldor episode, but Last Wall, which is, northeast of Cheliax, which was a Taldor province at this point, kind of when this conquest was happening, declared neutrality, which in its own way was kind of a declaration of independence. So they just kind of said, we're out of this, and then we're independent. So, yeah, no bloodshed. Last Wall was like, we got Whispering Tyrant stuff to deal with, just no one bother us, we're doing our own thing. And both Taldor and Cheliax were like, okay, cool.
It's almost like a civil war, and then the third party, I don't support either of you.
I declare independence.
I'll be over here doing something else. Goodbye.
Yeah. Last Wall was no longer a Taldan province after that. They're just kind of...
See ya.
Yeah, I'm out. Anyway, back to Cheliax. About 600 years after the aspect, or the even-tongued rebellion, the Taldan roots kind of show themselves. Because eventually, Cheliax realized our borders could be bigger.
Oh, no.
So
As is traditional.
So it's time to go exploring.
As is traditional.
Or in this case, just expanding. It started in 4137 AR, where Cheliax, if you look at the map, is kind of surrounded by coast on 3-ish sides.
Yep.
And so they have a lot of sea trade. They were having a lot of disputes with Absalom, which is in the Inner Sea. And so Cheliax decided, you know what? Forget these trade partners. We're just going to lay siege to Cheliax to try to get better trade deals.
Who needs partners when you can just...
Wait, Cheliax is laying siege to Absalom, or
Yes.
Absalom is laying siege to
Cheliax is laying siege to Absalom over
Okay.
trade deals.
And that's
Okay.
that's not an insignificant difference away.
No, it's, yeah. I mean, if you think of Andoran, part of it, it's kind of bordering. Because remember, Cheliax at this point includes Andoran, Isker, and Galt, which is
Right.
a good portion of the north side of...
But that's it's hundreds of miles away. Like, that's not like my neighbor. Like,
They don't share a border.
Yeah, like, that's a choice.
Yeah. Obviously trying to get, like you said, supplies down there and lay siege was not a sustainable situation, so the siege did not succeed. However, they did get access to the Arch of Aerodin, which is one of the 2 access points of the Inner Sea. So they basically now have control of a lot of Inner Sea trade. As kind of,
So if the Inner Sea was the Mediterranean Sea, they have control of the Strait of Gibraltar?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to visualize it
Yes.
in my brain.
Because,
Okay.
But the Arch of Aerodin is what?
the Arch of Aerodin is a massive bridge that's kind of over if you think of the, Avestan up north, Garoon to the south, it's like a bridge structure that kind of crosses both that they named the Arch of Aerodin.
So it's like literally a Gibraltar bridge.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But it also makes it pretty easy to control trade in and out of there. This is when Cheliax really became a naval powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so a year later, they really kind of leaned into that naval situation and decided to go exploring and go farther south to colonize a territory in western Garoond and name it Sargava.
Sargava.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because it's pretty far south on the west side of Garoon, so they just kind of went along the coast and said, here, we're colonizing this area.
They feel kind of like British Empire-y, like
Yeah.
sailing around a bunch.
Mhm. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they're like, we have all these boats, we might as well use them, right?
Huh.
They colonized Sargava, they own the Arch of Aerodin, and then they decided at this point they've had enough territory and never needed to expand again for 150 years.
Well, that lasted long.
So the final stage of Chelish expansion happens when King Haliad III launches the Everwar, which is a sick name.
It's a good band name.
It is
Everwar.
Everwar.
That's a good band name.
In 4305 AR. This conquest spans about 100 years and over 5 Chelish monarchies.
100 years?
100 years.
The Chelish monarchs are not lasting long if they've got 5 in 100 years.
Yeah. Life expectancy, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That's not the best record.
I mean, either like 1 or 2 was a really long time, and then like the last few went like real quick, or
Yeah, they don't elaborate on what exactly happens over those. They're like 100 years and 5 people. So 25-year reigns each.
20 if
20
it's
or
5.
20,
Yeah.
Because math is hard. But during this time, Cheliax will have conquered or annexed areas that are now known as Multhun, Nirmathos, Isker, parts of Belkzen, Nidal, and Varisia.
I guess they had a lot to do in 100 years.
They did have a lot to do. Yeah, the only reason the Everwar stopped, a little after 100 years, they realized they weren't going to be able to make it farther north because they could not get past Belkzen.
Yes! The Orcs of Velkson!
Yeah, so they're fighting the Orcs of Belkzen and just could not make it work. So they decide, you know what? We're going to end the Everwar.
I'd like to put my vote in, my early vote, for the Orcs of Belkzen being the heroes of Golarion.
They really are. Everyone just runs into the Orcs, except to the dwarves. But they run into the Orcs, they're like, we're going to explore, and the Orcs are like, nope. And then just stops.
I kind of really appreciate that they're just the No matter how many times we reach them, then the orcs.
So, as you can kind of see, up until now, there's really been that parallel to Taldor, even kind of more so with just they want power, they want land, they want to expand. And a lot of that, even after the Everwar ended, their ambitions did not cool down. They were still really wanted to, continue all the things they're doing. And so leads us to the Starfall Doctrine, which we've talked about in the past. And it's basically the prophecy that Aerodin, friend of the pod, is going to leave for a while and come back and lead the humans in the Age of Glory. The interesting thing, and I didn't realize that until reading through for this episode, is that the Starfall Doctrine specifically said that Aerodin would come back to Cheliax.
Well, of course. If you're gonna write your own prophecy about...
Well, no, this is... I don't think it was it's... Because remember, the Starfall Doctrine is what Taldor and everybody else have been using as their prophecy.
Okay.
It specifically said he would end up in the land of Cheliax. Huh. And so the interesting thing is, because we talked about that in the other episodes, where it's like everybody was like, oh, Aerodin's going to be for us.
Right.
Which makes sense now, because at the time, or for a while, Cheliax was part of Taldor. So Taldor is like, yeah, Cheliax, that's our nation.
Yeah.
So we're all Taldan. And then Galt and Andoran are like, yeah, well, we're Chelish right now, so he's coming back to save us.
That's fair. It just feels a little bit like, aha, the Messiah will rise again, and he will come back in Kentucky.
Well, I mean, this also leads into so Iomade was Chelish.
Yeah.
And from that area, and then rose up. So there's some other things that also support Cheliax being the area, because in the doctrine he's going to rule Cheliax also. So they're also kind of, he's supposed to come through here, but they're also kind of giving up divine power to Aerodin as well.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of it's not necessarily all win, I guess, depending on where you're standing in power.
Just saying, if you're going to write a prophecy, don't tie yourself to where that prophecy is going to happen.
This is why you have to be very vague when you predict things.
Right.
Like the weather.
Right.
It might rain.
May rain. 30% chance. 30% chance of Aerodin coming back in Golarion.
See? I like that.
5% chance it's Cheliax.
Yeah, 30% chance. It's like you have the betting pools of where Aerodin's going to come back.
Yeah, exactly. You got to hedge just a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, because of this kind of divine mandate, and their country was going to be in the middle of it, they feel a lot of that divine right to kind of take over and expand, because this is all going to be Aerodin's anyway, so we're going to prep for him. And so, running up into the Age of Glory, or what was supposed to be the Age of Glory, Cheliax was prepping. The king at the time, Gaspadar.
Gaspadar.
Yeah.
Gasp.
Odar. King Gaspadar. He was making preparations. It doesn't specify exactly how, but I assume, your god's coming back, got to make it all nice.
Of course. Yeah.
Or you're hoarding all your wealth, so when your god comes back, he doesn't take it all and you're left with nothing.
That's true. Could have been.
2 people. I don't know.
Yeah, 2 types of people. And then it was also at this time that the first Hell Knight Order was founded, which I found interesting. We've talked a little bit about Hell Knights before, but if you imagine, they're like the Eagle Knights or the...
Black Jackets?
Black Jackets. The Black Jackets of Druma, where it's kind of their military strength officially.
Right. Like they're elite.
Yeah, their elite group. And the Hell Knights, we'll talk more about them in next episode, but the Order of the Rack, which is the first order founded, it was founded during this time.
Oh, but this is before the Hell stuff.
This is before the Hell stuff. So it's kind of interesting that even before Hell had taken over, they still had Hell Knights.
I'm trying to think of an analogy in the real world, and I really can't think of one.
Are we also assuming that they are the Order of the Rack, like the medieval torture implement? That kind of a rack?
I believe so. I know the Hell Knights were kind of organized and called that way because of the Legions of Hell are all very organized. But it is kind of confusing to me that they chose Hell before Hell was a thing.
I mean, there's lots of organized people.
I know, right?
Yeah, it is kind of a weird... Huh.
Yeah, very strange. But anyway, so we all know what's coming. right? We're prepping. We're excited. Eridan's going to come back.
Uh-huh.
Woo!
It's going to go great.
He dies.
Womp womp.
4606, the year that Eridan dies.
I had streamers and everything ready to go.
I know. He cleaned his house. He was ready. He prepped. And then up and just vanishes.
Hmm.
So as we've talked about in pretty much every episode up until now, the god Eridan disappears, presumed dead. All of his clerics lose their power. And in every country we've talked about, everybody reacts slightly differently, right? Galt went into revolution, Andoran went into freedom, Taldor fell apart, you know.
Mhm.
So Cheliax, basically real soon after he dies, everybody kind of realizes, oh, King Gaspadar is not the ruler by divine mandate because our god is dead. So
That seems kind of shitty, because, like, he was the ruler when the god was alive, so there was still divine mandate, so now you're saying, oh, well, now we're just gonna chuck this whole system? Like, we're not honoring a previous divine mandate. We're like, they're all crap!
yeah, it's almost like, you know, this prophecy was, like, gonna happen, and the fact that if the prophecy failed, then, like, what were we believing this whole time?
Like, tied it to the wagon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Soon after, you see Cheliax immediately fall into a power struggle, because all the noble houses are now trying to vie for dominance and become the real ruler of Cheliax.
Sure.
Yeah. Coincidentally, the first house to act was House Thrune in a feud for land against a family rival whose name was stricken from the records.
Great.
They sound badass already.
Right?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So House Thrune threw the first stone in this, what would be decades of civil war. Over 30 years.
Oof.
Yeah. So it's kind of rough.
This is not a quick...
This
is not an Andoran, like, we all decided peacefully that we were gonna come together.
Yeah. On the scale of Andoran to Galt, it's somewhere in between.
Okay.
It doesn't go into complete and utter anarchy and murder, but it doesn't resolve peacefully.
Okay.
Over the course of these 30 years, houses are rising and falling, people are getting assassinated. It's very bloody and very chaotic. And so chaotic, in fact, that Multhune, which at the time is a Chelish province, decides it's going to take this time to peace out and declare independence, doing a similar thing to Cheliax and said, hopefully nobody notices.
Solid choice, Multhune.
Hilariously,
Respect
Cheliax still looks back on this as a massive betrayal that they would leave the motherland during the time of need. Which is just very ironic.
This is like you go to family dinner and like it explodes and you're like, well, I'm going to go back to college now. And then your mom calls you like, I can't believe you left family dinner. Now we never see you. And it just...
And then like 20 years down the road, your own kid does the same thing. And you're like, I can't believe you would do this.
Yes. And you don't get good Christmas presents anymore.
No. That's fair. Cheliax
I feel so betrayed. You did this yourself.
You brought this on yourself.
You threw mashed potatoes at me.
So yeah, Multhune threw mashed potatoes and peaced out. After all this time, this kind of thirst for power has drug on for so long that it kind of becomes a desperate need for power to just end this war.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as the house that threw the first stone, it seems fitting that House Thrune is the one who finishes the conflict and end it by making the infernal deal with Hell. They signed a pact to serve Hell in exchange for getting kind of legions of devils and advisors to help just really tie up this civil war in a nice tidy bow.
Look, I know we're not supposed to be like, ooh, devils, but like, that is a tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it kind of goes like I said at the beginning of the episode, I don't think Hell was obviously not the first choice, right?
Right.
It wasn't like the second the Civil War broke out, they're like, going to Hell. But the fact that after so long, that need for power, they went with what worked. And this worked real well.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after they signed that pact, House Thrune was tearing through the rest of the families, and the final blow happened in 4639 So remember, Aroden died in 4606. 4639, 33 years after the Civil War broke out, they used their new Devil Legion to defend themselves from a joint attack by one of the other biggest houses at the time, House Davian, and a navy funded by Sargava, the colony that,
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, betrayed again!
Betrayed again.
From all sides!
Yeah. So Sargava also funded, we don't like those people, so get out of here. And they were handily beat. So everyone kind of realized after that the jig was up. The other family stopped trying to win this war, and House Thrun officially took power.
Yeah, I mean, when, the legions of hell are, roaming through the streets and they've already killed everybody, all the other opposing armies.
Yeah. It's not much you can do about that.
I feel like it, sucks, right? Because you're, in a civil war, and if everybody is, equally matched, then the war just continues, and it just, perpetuates.
Drags.
So you have to figure out, what do I do to get the upper hand? Because you want somebody to get the upper hand, or else it just continues.
Yeah.
And when you're in a country where it's oh shoot, we had this god that we were really waiting for, and all of your faith in that has dissipated, it's well, where else can we look? Ew.
Oh, but what did the Strix think about this?
Oh man, the Strix at this point, I don't actually know. I think they were it gets worse for the Strix.
Oh no.
Later
oh
once.
No. Oh man.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to find out what happens to our flying buddies.
Well, we'll do a follow-up. Where are they now? Episode. But yeah, the only kind of follow-up, which we can talk about now, but we'll get more into what it becomes, is that Sargava, after the end of the war, Rune is really angry that they placed their bets with a different family, and so kind of sent fleets down to get revenge. And so Sargava didn't have enough naval capacity to fight the Chelish navy, so they got pirates from the Shackles to help. And so they all just kind of worked together to sink that Chelish fleet. And then later they sent another fleet that also got sank. And so Sargava eventually, or at this point, just kind of declared independence and then renamed themselves Vidrian.
Nice.
Yeah, so as of current day, Sargava is no more. The new country of Vidrian is where it was.
Nice.
It is currently independent from Chelish influence.
That sounds like that kind of worked out.
Yeah, and we'll get to there once we hit Garoon. I just wanted to, throw that in there, that everybody was kind of pissed at the fact that Cheliax had a bunch of devil worshippers take power. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I will leave it for today.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Yeah.
That's such a bummer.
So we hit the end of the Civil War. The devils take power, and we will wait until next time to talk about how that affected the country and what went on from there. So we'll be back after a quick break with a word from our sponsors, and we'll talk about some campaigns and characters. And yeah, we'll be right back.
The story of Cheliax has been written for centuries. It is an epic story of courage, sacrifice, and glory written by all her people. It is a story about nature, about neighbors, and about building the best nation we can together. Every chapter, every sentence, every character is unique because of our people, our history, and our land. Our collective story is only missing one thing: you. Whether it be in the Menador Mountains, the Whisperwood, or the capital of Westcrown, find your story in Cheliax.
Welcome back to the Tabletop Travel Guide. Thank you to our friends at the Chelish Tourism Board for that lovely advertisement. And now we are going to pop over to Ryan to talk about fun campaign things.
Yes, campaign things. So Sam, this is maybe a little targeted, I know you haven't read any of this, so, hang in there. I have faith. Tyler, you'll also enjoy this, but
Cool.
this is definitely targeted a little bit.
I'm excited.
Okay, so my campaign idea. This is the Cheliax Collegiate Games.
Okay.
The Cheliax Collegiate Games in honor of Eridan, because we're big on Eridan right now. Eridan's
Yes.
our big...
This is historical campaign of...
Yes.
we're
This
still
is good Cheliax.
Yes.
So any collegiate game we're going to throw is going to, of course, be in honor of Eridan. So there is a magical academy in Cheliax, specifically the capital of Golarion, called the Academy of Magical Arts.
Oh my gosh, it's Magic Olympics.
It's obviously very appropriately named. And there are a few other academies, very famous ones all throughout Golarion. So I kind of envisioned 3 other colleges or other magical schools coming to this magical school to participate in a tournament of sorts.
What a wildly original idea, Ryan.
I know, right? So there's the Academy of Verisia, there's the Bloodstone Conservatory of Irison, and the College of Mysteries in Absalom.
Now, are these places that actually exist, Ryan?
These all exist.
Amazing.
These are all real in the sense of the world. Magical colleges. The Bloodstone Conservatory kind of scares me a little bit. That's a totally different topic, though. And so, the Chelish government has decided we're going to throw this big national party, right? We're going to have the Olympics, basically, and we're going to invite all these other colleges, because we want to really prove that Chelish magic is the best magic.
Well, sure.
And
Cool.
players will not be participating in this tournament.
Okay.
Players will be the organizers and school administrators of this tournament.
Ryan, as someone that works in a school as an administrator, I'm not sure that sounds like fun.
But magic, Sam. Magic.
Oh
I
my
guess
gosh.
that makes it better.
Can you imagine just showing up to a session 0 and be like, guys, magic tournament. And it's like,
Yay!
"Hey, you're running it. What?
You have to organize the dormitories. Oh,
Make
okay.
sure you provide all the food.
So, there's already this, so there's Headmaster Igneous Salvius, and I envisioned this as, so based on Eridan, he has certain domains and areas of interest, so we have 6 challenges that our players have to plan and execute, and maybe even pick the Chelish team for.
Oh my gosh. Also, so it's like, cool, I'm the DM, but I don't know that I really want to do that, so I'm going to make the characters plan the sessions. Ha ha!
I mean, I think there's definitely a world where, the players help, frame things, and then the GM's gonna step in and be like, okay, for next session then, I'm gonna take your suggestions, because the GM's kind of the headmaster in this scenario. So
Yeah.
they're gonna, take the advisement of the staff and put it to good use.
Oh, jeez.
I like it. I'm in. This is hilarious.
So we have the challenge of community, the challenge of glory, the challenge of knowledge, the challenge of law, the challenge of protection, and then, of course, it has to end with the challenge of destiny.
Obviously. Yes.
Side note, somebody dies at the end of the challenge of destiny.
I hope not.
Well, if they are, they obviously signed a waiver because our coordinators would have made them all do that. It's fine.
The
You
entire-
accept whatever fate destiny gives you. Sign on the line.
The entire campaign goes off the rails because players forgot to get the
Oh, no. We
got to
didn't get
create
it.
a waiver.
Or they signed it, but we didn't turn them in. We didn't pick them up.
Dang it.
Yeah, and so my vision here is that whatever character or players that are participating, they have to provide some direction to the GM and maybe deal with dormitory issues. Maybe there's the janitors go on strike before one of the challenges. All kinds of fun activities.
You know what? Actually, as a person who loves playing games like Fire Emblem Three Houses, which you're a teacher in that one, and Persona, which you just do a bunch of random off,
Yep.
not combat stuff, I'm in for this.
Okay.
I like little side quests, oh yeah, befriended the janitor. Why? Dude, I don't know.
Because it will get me good stuff later.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right, Sam. So good luck.
Okay, well. So I have created for you a gnome swashbuckler
Great.
who is neutral evil and also a criminal.
So they're the PE teacher or something.
Well, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. So our character's name is E.T.
E.T.
And Edie, I think as a criminal, has decided to impersonate a professor in this to steal the prize, because there's probably a prize, right?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, there's a prize.
So Edie is gonna spend this campaign trying to figure out how to trick people long enough to make it through to steal the prize.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, dang.
But I think that, like, Edie secretly gets into it, though, and maybe kind of enjoys planning some of these things along the way, because it feels like planning an elaborate heist, but it's all the steps. So I think that Edie's gonna show up and accidentally make friends in this quest for stealing things.
Yes. Like, Professor Edie, what's your perspective on this event?
Really liked the panache, says the swashbuckler.
Oh, perfect.
I like it. Would Edie become good by the end, or would it be a...
I mean, I think that Edie would think it was a grand adventure to steal whatever the prize is without anyone knowing, and then be able to retain those friendships, but then also get a different teaching contract and have to leave. Oh, sorry guys, I got called by this academy over here, but all right.
Oh, that's perfect. Like, steals the final treasure, like the final award, and then immediately, like, walks over to the Bloodstone Conservatory, the College of Mysteries. It's like, hi, did you like my work winning the trophy and then stealing it?
Oh, yeah, or that. Maybe it's an audition for a criminal group.
Ooh.
Okay.
Edie's not opposed to working with people.
Ooh, okay.
Would be great if, like, the rest of the party didn't realize that you weren't an actual professor.
Oh, I would definitely only tell the GM. I would not tell any of the other players.
For sure.
And then we're just like, man, Edie's kind of bad at her job. How did she get hired?
Oh, Edie is actually non-binary, by the way, so they use they, them.
They. Okay. So what crime did Edie commit?
I think that Edie is into, like, maybe some confidence schemes, I think is where...
Like a pyramid scheme?
No, like when you, like, cons. So tricking people.
Oh, okay.
Like, so that kind of criminal. So, like, I
built
built them out
with...
with...
a confidence scheme? Is that what that stands for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Today I learned.
So like I lost my train of thought.
Confidence schemes. Confidence, Sam.
Yes, so as a swashbuckler, I built them as a battle dancer, but they have performance is like the main skill for that. So I think it's more of like distraction and stealing things and kind of tricking people into getting whatever. But they have like underworld lore as part of the criminal background. So I think they have ties with like those types of things in Cheliax. So I think probably has worked more like on different teams. And this might be a chance for them to branch out on their own. And yet they make more friends.
Nice.
So did they infiltrate and like sneak into a position, or did they like actually like interview and do really well in the interview, like completely lying the whole time?
I really hope it was the interview option. I think it would depend. I would have to know more about like the school and like what they would be looking for. As a gnome, you can choose the gnome background.
Okay.
So Edie's background is Fey Touch, so they get one cantrip. And I just think that would be really hilarious in the interview. Like, here's my I'm very magical. See? I can cast light.
Well, great.
All the administrators are like, man, they did a great job. They didn't do much, or they only had that one spell, but look, they worked it.
Well, and then there's like panache with the swashbuckler thing and the performance. So I imagine that they just performed so well that they get the job. Or depending on like the type of magical academy, if there is like magical fighting, like
Well,
the
yeah.
equivalent of a fencing or PE person,
Yeah.
then Edie would do fine.
Well, the Golarion Academy of Magical Arts is very martially focused. It's
Yes.
a very Chelish academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it was a martial focused audition, that would have probably gone well too.
A lot of stabby little magic.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh,
like
this is so good.
He's great.
This is so good.
I like him.
When we started, I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do with Edie? But it worked out great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm very excited for Edie to be in this, and that Edie's backstory is mostly sabotaging the campaign. It's
I like
fine.
it.
That works. No, in the first honorable Eridan's Chelish Collegiate Games, I think Edie's a shoo-in to do well.
I like it.
Good.
Cool.
Good.
Woo!
So I think the last bit of stuff we have to do is we have to give old Cheliax a score.
Well, are we counting old Cheliax at where we left off, where the devils are in charge?
No, no. I would say
We're
I
on
would
the
say
timeline.
But it was 30 years before that. Like,
there. Cheliax up until inclusive. I guess right until the devils take throne, even including the
Civil War. Including the 30-year Civil War. Okay. That seems...
Maybe let's do not pre-Civil War.
I think you're just trying to make this a more positive review.
That's fine. Okay. Up until the moment where I stopped talking about it.
What is our scale? 0 to 5 devils?
No, not yet.
Devils is got to be next time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This time is
I guess
0.
we just got the devils. 1 to 5 divine disappointments.
Prophecies,
1
1
to
to
5
5 prophecies.
Failed prophecies.
1 to 5 failed prophecies.
I don't.
What else
I don't-
defines Cheliax?
Strong naval power.
1 to 5 ships.
Perfect.
1 to 5 warships.
Yeah, 1 to 5 warships.
I like it.
I'm gonna go. Yeah,
I don't feel good about this.
I don't feel good about Cheliax. It goes from neutral to bad. I don't think there's a lot of good here. I'd maybe put it at a. I don't know what I'm going to say for next week. It's probably going to be far worse, but let's say 2 to 3.
I'm trying to remember what I said for Taldor, because I was like generally positive on Taldor, but now I'm like, oh, this is like Taldor's child, and it didn't go so
I
great.
think we said like 4 for Taldor. I can't remember.
I can't be. I don't think higher than a 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 3.5
Oh.
Ooh.
because I'm a Slytherin.
Oh,
And I'm
there
all
you go.
about power and ambition.
Okay.
So that part sounds kind of fun.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would presumably, if I went there, have a lot of armor and a lot of magic and not get murdered in a civil war, but
That's fair.
I guess if you show up like prepared, like you got to make sure you have your traveler's insurance.
if you like living chaos, though, like, it could be okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we'll average out to about a 3.
That's
I
roughly
think.
a 3. Yeah.
A 3 warship out of 5.
Yeah. Not great, but not awful.
Could be worse. I think Galt was worse.
Yeah. Galt would not.
That's a
go
little
well.
bit too straight murdery.
Yeah, I'd rather be here than Galt.
You
but-
could definitely hire protection, right?
That's
like I
true.
think you could.
And, like, it's a big enough country that you don't necessarily have to be, like, right in the stuff.
I would go visit the Styx.
visit the Strix.
I would visit the Strix, and it would all be great.
They really don't like humans.
Dang it!
I want to go see the big gate. Or
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah,
Eridan's
Okay. I think
bridge
three's
thing.
pretty solid.
3 works. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like commoners could probably avoid most of the noble crazy. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, again, we appreciate all the listeners. Obviously, I think we're having fun with it. We hope you're all enjoying it too.
10 episodes.
10 episodes. If you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. Reach out to us at tabletoptravelguidepodcast@gmail.com. Hit our website, tabletoptravelguidepodcast.com.
Tabletop Travel Guide.
I suck, guys. It's fine. It's on the notes. I just don't read the notes. Is the real secret. Tabletoptravelguide.com. We put some stuff up there. We'll definitely put a couple pictures up there, and we'll put some cool stuff up.
Cool. Well, until next time, safe travels, everybody.
Safe travels.
Bon voyage!